Greetings. Welcome to Conversation with Tony Mobley. Today is April 29th, 2026. This is episode 15 of 2026 of Conversations with Tony Mobley. This conversation uses the TV broadcast software Mimo Live, and we also use Zoom. Conversation with Tony Mobley can be seen at conversationwithtonymobley.com as well as our YouTube channel. This interactive chat is courtesy of Alex Lindsay and 090. This is an opportunity for you to ask your questions, and not only can you ask your questions can be voted up or down. That's right. If you choose not to use Mukana, that's okay. You can ask your chat, you can ask your questions in the YouTube chat. And also the link to Mukana is also in the YouTube chat. And so we're just going to get started right away. We're going to get into these questions. And the very first question is, what's new since our new lab? Thank you, Ken Jordan, for being here again.
Hi, Tony. Well, I think last time we the time went so quickly that we didn't really have do a proper end-to-end of how the full sort of how the process actually went. And I'm going to show a bit more kind of how the sausage was made, kind of the more behind the scenes of what actually was there.
Before you go there, I do want to say this. Anybody who is watching us right now, this is different than your typical Claude code website development. This is different. This is a different experience. There is more going on than meets the eye. And so if you missed the last conversation, we want you to really tune in today, because this is a revolution in terms of, yes, people are doing fantastic websites with Claude, right? But this is a little bit different. This is a new experience, and you will see why. And so please ask your questions. Otherwise, Ken and I are just going to hang out and have a good time, the two of us.
Yes,
so ask your questions.
Okay, thanks for that, Tony. Yes. So I built a website on this new content management system called Page Motor. It's not released yet. It's still early beta development, but it is actually so stable that I have done full websites on it and client work actually on it. So the site that Tony went to has gone through a few iterations. It's buildyourweb.site. That's where Tony was the first person outside of the closed group who actually used the solution that I built. But anyway, I think we talked about that in the previous show.
I want to thank you so much for letting me be a beta tester. It was exciting, and I thank you for that opportunity.
No, and thank you, Tony, because your interaction with it, and all the others that have had on it, but your the first interaction with it did help kind of shape and develop some of the features that we see on it today. So and it's open. There is now, the paywall is on, I'm afraid. So if you didn't get a chance to use it on the previous show when it was all free, where you could have gone through the full journey, I'm afraid that part is now gone. But if you contact me privately, you can do it through Discord for office hour members. I do have I can see what I can do to kind of get you access. But for free presently, if you go to the website, you'll see you can choose an option on what kind of website that you want. So you select that, you put your email address in. You don't have to put your email address in. The reason why that's recommended is that you'll see later when you go through that this is something really quite valuable, and you want to save that transcript to yourself. Doesn't matter, you don't have to start, you don't have to put your email address in at all. You can go through, and if halfway through you realize, oh wow, this is really good, I want to keep this, you can then put your email address in then. So basically all this is, and I won't go through the whole process because I said this is a proper interview for if you're wanting to build a website. Now, a lot of time, effort I put into this, so it's kind of like a digital version of me, or if you came to our agency, which is, well, we'll touch upon that because that's...
I think it's important that you share that you have worked as a web developer for over 40 years. And I've been in the digital space because the web wasn't around when I started, not in the way that it is now. Yeah, so I started digital space.
Yes, in the digital space. I started 42 years ago working as a computer graphic artist at a company called Arthur Andersen. Arthur Andersen were an auditor. They're no longer around now. Andersen Consulting is part of that group. Where I ran a computer graphic department of one, and then we grew into a bigger team. So I've been working in the digital design space since I started work. I haven't, and so, yeah, being in this space since the beginning, what the tools and stuff that we're seeing now is the biggest revolution I've seen in the 42 years I've been in this space. It really is changing the landscape of what can be done. As I said, I'm a trained graphic designer. I've been building and developing websites for decades. I've run digital agencies who were doing this. So that experience I put into buildyourweb.site. And the reason why, yes, it does take a long time to do that interview is because it should do. Unless you have a perfect storyboard, a perfect script of what you want, then you can probably do it in maybe 45 minutes going through. But you'll see by doing the interview process, and that part is still free, by the way, but it's just at the end if you want to turn it into a full website, hosted, and so you can manage it on a CMS, which is Page Motor, then that's it. And also, the thing is here, you're not tied in to any host or any platform. You can take this and host it yourself. That's what we did with Tony's site. So as I said, you go into build a web.site, put your email address in or not. I think you'll decide when you start going through the process that you will. And it fires up and starts by asking you a series of questions, which you answer, and there's a back and forth. And it's designed to pull from you what you want to build. Now, everyone who has used it, and there's been quite a number, have been impressed with the output from it. Now I'm looking for, I do want more people who are more critical on it. Presently, who've used it and said, okay, it didn't really answer our questions or suit my needs, because that's when I can fine tune it. But as I said, this process is important because anyone who you go
we want to do a shout out to the office hours community to say, hey guys, he wants you to come in and test it and push it, because that's the way it gets better.
Yeah.
So community, check this out. I know there are tons of you who are working on creating websites. As I said before, this is a little bit different. And Ken, just talk a little bit more about the interface. I see on my end, I can see some of the script that is showing. Can you tell us what we're actually looking at right now?
Yeah, this is the start of the process on here, where it wants you to, ask what you do and what you're trying to build, and it's basically the start of a process, as if you were sitting in front of me and I was then interviewing
preparing
you.
to design the website for me.
Preparing to build that. Now,
yes,
obviously, this is, as I said, this is a kind of that digital embodiment of decades of my experience in this field to know what to pull out from you to then build that site. So you went through that process, Tony, and this was the output from it. This was, whoops. Now you see there's a, let me just go back into the content management system because I remember I didn't, I saved that. And let's put that back. Yeah, sorry. You saw there just a little quick behind the scenes before that there was a little typo there. That was because I was demonstrating to Tony before that I wanted to show the content management system behind this. It's all well and good you getting, if you're using a large language model to build you a beautiful design or a website, they're basically kind of just holding pages. You have to then take those and host them somewhere, and also you don't want to, like what I just did there, if there was some wording you want to change, you don't want to actually go back to that large language model and try to get it to just to change that, because they normally always come up with a new design or something different, or they make a change. Well, you might just want to change a word, you don't, on this page that it's built you. With this system,
I want to just ask you. So, why is this more than just I'm going to use your words, a pretty postcard? Why is this more than that?
Because it's actually built on a full content management system. So this is your site menu, and it said your site can take email, donations. It's got a newsletter, drip feed, all the kind of things that you would expect from not just a pretty face. It needs to have some brains behind it, and those brains aren't a large language model feeding that in. This is PHP, and there is a full admin system behind it. So you can log into the back end, and this is the page editor. So this is where the home page is. So this is just, as I said, you can just go in here, type and make a change, but it's got full plugin support. So on Tony's website, if I go manage plugins, so he's got an analytics plugin. You see that there's updates here. So there's actually an update server. So kind of just like WordPress, if when I make a change or improve any of those plugins, and then I release that, your site gets the update, and you can click on that to update it. So it works just like in that sense, like a WordPress website. If you installed a plugin and then the developer, wherever they are in the world, improves their plugin or makes a change, you get to see that, and you can then update that. So this is what Tony's website is sitting on. As I said, these are the plugins. And you see that I've been doing quite a bit of work, and there's quite a number of updates to there. But it has a newsletter, sitemap. These TXT files are the robot.txt and also large language model.txt. So when Google comes to it, it's properly, they read that file to see what those pages are. So I'm only going to kind of skim over the surface of this, but basically this is to show that it is not just a pretty face at the front end. It has full content management systems in there. So in the e-commerce, if I go into the settings on there, so in Tony's case, Tony has a donations page, kind of like he does have on WordPress, but this is all based on the content management system. So as I said, even though we used AI to do the interview, we used AI to build the website, but that foundation that it's sitting on is a full content management system called Page Motor that runs and manages it. That's the key difference. There's one thing getting it to build something pretty. There's another thing for it actually being transportable. It's all yours. This is under Tony's. It's under the virtualfaithconnections.com, which is a website. So he can move this and put it anywhere on any host he wants. We recommend what host to use, especially if you're going to be, and this is what we're going to come back to later with this, we recommend using, in our case, Claude Code, to manage the website for you. Because really the time, your skill set is in, like in Tony's case, wanting to kind of set up this virtual church and running and managing that. So, you'll be answering email requests and all that kind of work. The maintenance of that, this is where you would want assistance to do. And that normally would be, you'd have to go back to the agency where you'd help come with that, or you would hire help if you wanted to do an email drip feed. All of that takes a knowledge understanding, but because this is that AI friendly, it means you can use your large language model of choice, because all of this content that you're seeing in the back end here, there is a...
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
So the WordPress individuals who are looking at this, why is this different for them? Why would this be different for them?
Well, one thing, this is super small. I mean, I know WordPress. We still manage a large number of WordPress websites. That number is getting smaller, thankfully, because we're migrating our clients over to Page Motor. The difference between a Page Motor install and a WordPress install is chalk and cheese. This back end is instant. There's no, you don't need a big host to run it. This can run on on the cheapest of shared server architecture to run. I've got it set up on, I was testing this on a number of different web hosting companies. So I was using one of their cheaper, it's called a VPS, which is a virtual private server. You can get them from $5-10 a month, so low end servers in that respect. And I can spin up literally in seconds multiple Page Motor websites. I've got one on a server and it's spun up 300 of them. Not a problem. Took about 12 minutes to do. So the difference between this and imagine trying to do that on WordPress, plus not only did it spin up an instance instantly, it did it with all of my plugins. And I built 62 at present. Full e-commerce, newsletter. There's a whole raft of plugins on there. So the difference between this and WordPress is kind of like chalk and cheese. This is unbelievably fast, unbelievably quick, and beautifully, properly written. Chris Pearson wrote this. He is... I said, I've been into a long time. There isn't anyone who I've found from a programmer point of view. So who is more obsessed with optimization and clean code. You know, that's
and
kind
Chris,
of gone out the past.
Chris Pearson is who? Who is
Chris
he?
Chris Pearson is the author of Page Motor. He was very big. He was one of the first. He did $1 million sales of his theme for WordPress. So he is, you know, still is, and WordPress still has, you know, thesis focus. That's what we use for all our WordPress websites. Chris wrote that. So yes, and he decided that, you know, WordPress is just getting too big, too clunky. The level of hosting you need with caching, and we won't get detail on that, but it's a beast.
Can we get to some of the bells and whistles that we have on Virtual Faith Connections, and
yes,
and we want to look at some of the other websites that you've done as well.
Okay, so in Virtual Faith Connections, there's a newsletter part. You know, that's common on a website. You know, you're wanting people to sign up for a newsletter so that, you know, that you can keep them informed of what you're doing going forward. So there's a newsletter plugin, as well as obviously email. You see some of the other ones up on here. This, you know, has the full thing. You know, you can see the subscribers are. We won't show that actually, because they are real subscribers to your thing. There might be that's on there, but you can create email campaigns. You can do drip feeds. What a drip feed is a newsletter. So, you know, that you're trying to say to get them to sign up for a particular service or a paid product or something, you know. But so what a drip feed is, you send out multiple emails. Now, if they respond to your first email and say, yo, Tony, that's great, I want to sign up for that, then that's fine. Then that's the only one they receive. But if they don't sign up to that, what a drip feed is kind of a drip, drip, drip effect until they actually do sign up for that particular service. They will then get another email, say a week after. You can determine when that is, with a, you know, trying to entice them again and again and again, and you can set up, and that's what a drip feed email is. Now, setting one of those up, you know, is, especially if you're new to it, you know, would be difficult. You know, you need to be quite experienced on how you would set up an email drip feed. Not with any of the tools. All of my plugins here are all designed that you can ask your large language model in plain English to do that, and to set up that campaign and adjust it, because they all have where is it, somewhere in here.
While you're looking for that, I just want to make sure everybody understands the other part of what he's saying. A person who is a novice and has no idea what they're doing when it comes to website development is able to use this in a way that they really look like they know what they're doing.
Yeah, because what we have in here is all of the options that you would need to set up that campaign are all in what's called in a JSON file. JSON is just a text file, but it's kind of, we're talking in the language that large language models like to be spoken in. So all you do is you download that file and then put it into your large language model of choice, and it will then interview you on what you're wanting to do with, you know, how you set up your email or your newsletter or any of the other applications on here, as I said, full e-commerce. So it interviews you. You say, well, I want to send out a newsletter every Wednesday at 2:00, and I want it to say, you know, XYZ, and it will get all the information that you want. You just talk to it or type into it in this natural language, and then and then it will spit out a JSON file that you just cut and paste into here, and it will then build it. Now, if you know what you're doing, you can go through and, you know, choose all these options. But What I designed this to be, all my plugins to be, is that you don't need to ever go into the back end. There, as I said, there's a full back end here. But the way that we're going to demonstrate is Tony will never need to go into this. He can talk to, in this case, Claude, and get it to run and manage and do all of that work while he focuses on what he wants or what he's going to be good at. Either coming up with sermons or whatever that you want to do. You focus on what you're good at and let the AI manage all the tedious parts. That really is the big change, the big, the positive side of this. And because I like to focus on the positives, there's lots of negative stories out there what it does, but from the positive side, it means that Tony can run a professional looking website, fully managed by himself, and so that he can then focus on just what he's good at and let the AI handle the rest. And we're going to do, it's going to be in a later lab. I've already kind of started the process behind the scenes. Tony's present website, conversationswithTonyMobley.com, which is a WordPress website that I built for Tony. We're going to convert that to Page Motor. If you go to conversationswithTonyMobley.com, you'll see there are a ton of YouTube videos, over 200 and, a big number. There's well over 200 YouTube videos that are on there. It has a donation, it has all of that. It's got some more stuff behind the scenes. We're going to be doing a lab where we convert a really quite sophisticated WordPress website into Page Motor. I've done that, but with my websites already. I'm starting that process now. Depending on how well the website was built. Now, obviously, I'm going to be praising myself on here. Tony's website is very well built and structured, so that process of converting it to Page Motor is going to be relatively simple, and we'll do it live on air, so you'll see how simple or not it is converting a sophisticated WordPress website into Page Motor. We know there's a full migration system that I built to be able to do that, and that should be done. We should be able to do that live in the lab in one hit. That's my thing to, that's a thing to come back for, because that's going to be either glorious or a big failure. And you'll see that live. And
that's what we do. We do labs. We do it live. That's what we do.
So I built, this here is Void Culture. Is that the right one? Oh, I'm showing the demo one, but there's a site called voidculture.uk. Pretty sure it is that. You can go there now. It's live on the web. It's a full e-commerce website. So it's a shop designed to sell this clothing. It's a full menu, so you can go and see the collection. So this is the collection, and you can say, I like that hoodie. Just go there. You can choose your size. Now, all of that was built with the discovery session. So I went through I used my buildtheweb.site, and it built all of this. Now, the images on here, Claude isn't good at generating these images, but it's very good at generating the prompts. So those were prompts that it generated that were then fed into MidJourney. So then these are MidJourney images that Claude chose. I didn't choose them. It generated the prompt. Then there was a bit of a system where how I got it to talk to MidJourney. That isn't fully built into this as yet. That requires, because MidJourney, there's a technical reason behind that, but that's just but once it had access to my MidJourney account, it took Claude's prompts, fed those into MidJourney. By default, MidJourney makes 4 images from the prompt. Claude chose the best of the 4 and put them and loaded them into the gallery.
Wait a second. Mm-hmm. So you said that MidJourney created 4 examples, and then,
when you use
Claude
MidJourney,
chose.
Claude, when you use MidJourney you put in a prompt in MidJourney, it makes 4. By default, it chooses 4 images. You can change that in the settings, but by default, it will take that prompt and produce 4 images for you to choose from which one you like best. So that's what got done. I had a Claude agent on my account produce those images, downloaded those images. Claude then converted those images, because they're quite large images, into WebP format and optimized them, and then chose which ones it thought was best to suit each of these pages that you see here. That is a quite sophisticated version that I've built, so that it's still, that level of service, still requires, that's a premium level of application that's on there to get it to do that part. Now you could have done it. You can do that yourself. You don't
Are you
need
using
to
any other imaging besides MidJourney?
For the for voidculture.uk, that was all MidJourney. For other websites, yours, this is the site Tony's site here. We're now we're going to be doing again on the lab, whether we do it today, we're going to be doing a number of labs on this. We're going to optimize this site for SEO. It already is very highly SEO optimized, but I wanted to take it a step further. So building what's called an open graph image, a perfect open graph image for this. Now, when Tony built the site, and this is it here, still raw. We haven't worked on it. It's still as it was when Tony output it. So here you see, Tony didn't feed it a picture of himself, so that's why there's a placeholder here. Here's where we used, and Tony had been showing me examples of of some branding elements. So there's a icon that Tony developed, and some images of himself that he of pictures of himself, but used AI to kind of clean up, to do a great Photoshop job. And it's no different, and that's why I think of it when it's manipulating images of yourself, it's like a highly skilled Photoshop editor that can do it in an instant and at minimal cost. So this is where I used. Initially, was using Gemini to produce open graph images because it produced some really good ones, and what's called a thing called a fav icon, which are little icons you see. You see, and that's showing. Yeah, it's the little icons that you would see beside the name of within the in the browser tabs. But now with ChatGPT's new image engine, and we might get time to show this, and I've made an example that I showed Tony of an open graph image where it combined Tony's image with Tony's logo to produce what I thought was a pretty cool open graph image. What open graph images are is when you send a link, rather than the link just being a HTTPS and just the words of the website. It adds a picture to it, making therefore that the link much more attractive to someone clicking, because there's a great image that goes with it and a little description underneath. So, and in Twitter or X, and if you use any of the messaging service, or I think the same with LinkedIn, rather than if you have an open graph image, then it will produce, a little card, which is much more attractive to a human to click on rather than just a line of text. Now, and that's what we were using, and that's when Tony's asking, do I use other large language models? Yes, I'm 95% of my work is all done now with Claude Code, but for images, I use MidJourney, and for metadata images, like open graph images, I use Gemini, and I'm now looking at ChatGPT. Its new image engine is really
Image
good.
2.0, I think it's called.
Yeah, Image 2.0 is now becoming my, I said I use the best tools for the job, and that one now is really good. There's nothing wrong with Gemini. Gemini is still good, but I was just super impressed with the literally one-shotted the open graph image for Tony's website on here. And that's what we will be, as I said, but in other labs, we will be going through that process. And again, things do change very quickly. It's been, is it 4 weeks? God, it doesn't seem that long ago.
Yes, I think it might be 5 weeks.
It feels like a few days ago since I was last on here when we were going through this.
What I want to do right now is also challenge those who are listening and watching. You will see me doing some updates to this website before the next lab. So I encourage you to check out virtualfaithconnections.com, and you will see me slowly. You will see me slowly make some changes to the website, and there's a variety of reasons why we're moving slow. We're putting together a board, and there are a lot of 501(c) things that we're trying to work on, and so we're moving kind of slowly with actually going. The website is live, and we are checking for.
You can donate now if you want to help Tony out. Before the labs, there is a donation on that, as well as obviously on conversationswithTonyMobley.com. Sorry, Tony, interrupted you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, we are accepting donations, and we also are checking for prayer requests. And so if you need to do that, but I encourage those people who are particularly interested in possibly doing a website for their church. You want to check out, I am a novice, and I am working through this with Kenn's support. And so you have an opportunity to watch from the ground up me pulling this together. So just keep a breath. You don't wait till the next lab to check out what we're doing. We're going to be doing things all along, even before the next lab comes up. So I just want to make sure those people are aware. And also, we're looking forward to challenges. The way we get better and stronger is, iron sharpens iron. And so ask your questions. Let's debate, what's going on. We have a question from Liberty White. What a coincidence. I'm watching and building a site. Oh, confidence. What? Liberty's building a website herself right now. You need to check in with Kenn, Liberty. You need to check in with Kenn. That's all I'm going to say. And Kenn, again, if somebody wants to reach out to you and possibly even be a beta tester, how do they need to contact you?
Well, they could go, because actually, let me go to, I've totally rebuilt my website. This is the admin part of it. I'm at the back end here, but actually, let me click and view the website. So you can contact me through my new. This is the first time I've shown it live. This is actually it's in dark mode, but it's actually, well, you'll see it differently because if you're, my system is all set up in dark mode because when we're presenting, if it's a lighter screen, it kind of blares out, but you can switch. Yeah, so this is my actually first live presentation of elmspark.com. Totally rebranded now. Elms Park is an agency that I run. I'm no longer now running that day to day. The team runs itself. They have a digital version of me that you can use. It's kind of like a super discovery AI session. Build a website that I built for them. And yeah, basically they're such a good team. They don't need the day to day running. And for me, I've totally moved across and are building using AI and using Page Motor to run my business now with Elms Park. So Elms Park is now, I said, where the team are, they still run and manage the present clients. I'm now working kind of taking the break like what I've done when we moved to Ireland, Helen and herself. We've got this beautiful home here, and there's some more of a quieter, easier lifestyle. I haven't retired because I don't see myself retiring, because this isn't even work. This is so much joy that I get from doing this and creating this and seeing clients. And you're going to see this journey because I'm going to take Tony along on this journey, where they can now don't have to worry about, and it's actually, it is far more enjoyable for my clients now that they can focus on just, being the best that they are. And now
can I talk a little bit about my experience as
please
as a
do,
person?
Tony. Yes, please do. Yes,
and I realized that the interview process that I went through was not the latest. That there's a improved version of it.
It's far. Yeah, there's been 5 or 6. And you see the version number. There's been a number of iterations on this, and we've improved it. So yeah.
So what I want to say is, Liberty, I hope that you got a chance to watch the beginning of the conversation where we talked about the fact that the website builder that Ken has managed and produced and is making available to us is also doing a lot more infrastructure for the website. It's not just producing a pretty picture. But what I want to talk about was my experience using the builder. And so it was, in fact, an interview, and it asked me tons and tons of questions. I mean, it was, I don't think that, I think that I spent probably, because I did 2 different sites, and so that was Ken let me really play. So the first site I did, I was able to get it done in about 45 minutes, and I didn't tell Ken at the time, I was actually dictating it. I was doing the website on my phone. I was using my phone to answer the questions, and it was just like having a conversation. We were going back and forth. I was sharing what I needed to share, and in about 40 minutes, I had a website, and then probably an hour later, Ken sent me over the rough draft of what I had actually done with the conversation that I had. And then I saw it and I was blown away. And then, like maybe 30 minutes later, he sent me another version of what I had dictated into the system. And that was even better. I mean, it had all the bells and whistles and the colors, and it just looked amazing. And so that was the first website that I went to. And so Virtual Faith Connections was actually the second attempt. And I was doing the first website for somebody else. But Virtual Faith Connections is my website, and it is about meeting the needs for people who are not able to attend a house of worship. That's what this is all about. And we are going to be offering everything that you can get in a in-person experience. And so the reason I mention that is because as I was having the conversation with the interviewing process for the website development, it was asking me extremely thoughtful questions. And it was actually making suggestions based on what I asked the system. And so we have what I think is an amazing website, and this is only the beginning of it. This is going to be a full featured opportunity for those people who are infirmed and just for whatever reason are not able to attend a physical building. That's what this is all about. And so I want to thank Ken so much for allowing me to be a beta tester and allowing me to have this experience for this thing that was in my heart that, I could probably, just talk to an AI and get a website that, looked good, but it doesn't have the foundation and all the bells and whistles and tools that I need in order to actually make this an effective way in which to do ministry. So again, I want to say thank you. And the coincidence that Liberty is working on the website. I know she's sharp and she can do anything that she wants to do. I just encourage her to just check out Page Motor and connect with Ken.
Yeah, connect with me, Liberty. We can work together if you'd like. I mean, it'll be a pleasure to work with you if you'd like. That we can do something on there if you want, because Tony's story. I think that's one of the most pleasing things for me. I've seen that replicated a few times. I mean, I know Hasmukh was on a couple of weeks ago, and I've done the same for Hasmukh. Hasmukh has had a slightly more improved version because Tony, I said, was the first, and that there has been many iterations since, and so Hasmukh's version is another step up. I haven't seen the infrastructure or the bells and all the bells and whistles. I've just seen the front page of it, and Dr. Gajar, it is awesome. Yeah. So but as I said, at the time when I build a website, which is again, it's a Page Motor website, just with a plugin. It's a plugin I built called Discovery.ai. So it's just a plugin I put onto the website, and built the front end, and it does that. But as I said, it's not just that interview process. Behind the plugin, what the plugin actually does, it spins up instances of Page Motor. So when you finish your interview, it will spin up an instance of Page Motor, put the website, your interview process builds you. You'll see a sitemap. You'll see what it looks like. You can iterate through it, from whatever it designs, and then once you're happy with that, and then you want to go, what happens is it spins up an instance of Page Motor, installs your website onto it, puts on any plugins that are required to manage that website. So, for example, if you were selling like in Hasmuk's case, there was a course, courses, it would put in my courses plugin, and obviously, and a membership part, because you need memberships for on that, and obviously then all of that gets put into it. So as I said, it turns it from being a pretty postcard into being a proper business tool and a functioning tool at that, where you then have all the pieces of the jigsaw to go live and put and have it running. Obviously, you need a domain name. If you don't have a domain name, there's another module that's built in there that will go and put one in. That takes a bit of a while. That's not down to the system. That's just down to how domain names work and how they get, put across on the internet with domain name setups and domain name servers, etc. But the website will be up and running, and then when you've got your domain name, you point to it, and then that's live. So, yeah, as I said, but that to me was just the start of the journey. Yes, it's a very good start, and that interview process is the key, because from that interview process, because my next thought was, okay, this is all well and good, but you still need to know about how content management systems work.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Well,
no,
we're down to 9 minutes. So what I want to do is so what I want to do is I want to give while I'm sharing this, I'm going to read a question. But while I'm reading this question, this is going to be your last opportunity to ask a question tonight. So those who are on YouTube and those who are on Makana, if you have a question that you want to get answered tonight, you have 8 minutes to get your question in as we go to this question. Why is it important to train Claude code?
Right. All language models need a level of training unless you just want the generic answer from them, because don't forget their knowledge comes from the web, and that's good and bad, because there's a lot of good, but there's even more rubbish that's out there. So you need to train it with, and especially if you're an expert in your field, you will see the holes that those models have. So as I said, I've been doing this for decades. So when Claude originally started spitting out websites, it was doing things like hamburger menus is one thing. It's one of my biggest gripes. We're in speed round now. We're in speed round now. So sorry. Yeah.
The next question.
Yeah. Go on.
So the next question is: are you available for consultation for people who need additional support?
Yes. You'll find that on the website, where what I normally do is offer an audit, and first we'll have a conversation to see whether it's a good fit, and then I then do an audit process.
All right,
and that. Yeah.
All right. Next question. Okay, what's next for our next lab?
Right. Time seems to fly here, and because I can't believe that the hour has gone already. There's so much more to show. I think I know, Tony. We had a kind of more private discussion about you doing your own kind of, rather than this beautiful infrastructure you presently have here, now the once a week, and you've got the team behind you to learn to kind of start doing your own little ones. And we may do, because the gaps between these 4 weeks is 2 lifetimes in AI terms of what things happen and change. So you might see, subscribe to Tony's channel so that you might catch, because it won't be normal, Wednesday 8 o'clock Eastern time. It will be, as a time.
He's letting you know that there's going to be some specials. There going to be some specials coming.
There might be some specials coming, which will be, before the kind of this official show that Tony and I will just get together and we will go through this process. And it might be, if this was an hour and we've only just done this, there might be a bit longer. But subscribe to Tony's channel so that you don't miss when we suddenly appear on air and we're doing an in-depth lab where we go into more nuts and bolts of how this actually works.
All right. And so we're always down to our final question. You're speaking to the world. What do you want the world to know?
I want the world to know that AI is an enabler. If you have a vision, obviously it does need to be trained. I'm not saying it can work out of the box, but it truly is an enabler. So, because you'll see here, it's enabled Tony to put his vision and work on that, and that's one you're going to be seeing live. But it can enable you as well. And as I said, I always like to think of the positive sides of these new tools, because to me it is just a tool. Yes, it is the greatest tool that I have ever seen in the 42 years I've been in this industry. It is an amazing tool, but it is a great enabler, and I'm wanting ordinary people to be able to, in my case, my expertise is online and making your best of you online, but I'm now able to open up what was, a very, very premium service when you came to us, but open that up to a wider audience. And hopefully when you see me take Tony along on this journey, that you can then see, you're skeptical, you're fine. I fully understand.
I'm just going to say, watch out, everybody. Right. If you get overwhelmed with seeing what Tony Mobley can do with just a little bit of knowledge, you better stay posted to what we're doing. So this is going to be, as I said, there will be a few special labs, and then we'll have a main lab toward the end of May. But look for some special labs in between that time. And so we're going to say good night to everybody. Thank you again, Kenn, so much for sharing your time with me. I know it's very late there, and tell your wife thank you so much for being with us tonight. Conversation with Tony Mobley is produced by Claude Lopez-Waterman. Our current team includes Laura Thompson, Zachary Sorensen, Mickey McAture. We want to say thank you, sir, and thank you, team. Thank you, Mimo Live and Zoom, for making this broadcast possible. We have conversations with real people. Yes, we do. Stay tuned for new episodes and great conversations on Conversation with Tony Mobley. We have over 200 episodes of Conversation with Tony Mobley. If you have time, we ask you to go back and look. And we ask you to go back and look at this conversation and look at the conversation we had last week and look at the conversation we're going to have next week. And so we have some really important things that we think that we talk about for everyday people. You're important. And so we try to have those conversations that can be beneficial to everybody. Conversation with Tony Mobley wants to thank Ken Jordan again for being a part of this conversation today and for doing the work you do and for being the person who you are. Next week on Conversation with Tony Mobley, Gary B. joins us again, but he's not talking about free show. He's talking about why houses of worship need to work hard on their digital presence. So we're looking forward to having that conversation next week with Gary B. Jr. We ask that you please continue to think about possibly volunteering your time to work on this. Is fantastic that we're using this Mimo Live software. If you want to learn how to use Mimo Live, this is a great opportunity for you to join us and learn how to use this. And you also can donate to Conversation with Tony Mobley. We want to keep it running. And we ask that if you are watching us only on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and make your comment. We want to say thank you, everybody, for attending and being a part of this conversation on YouTube and on the Conversation with Tony Mobley website. We're going to say good night, good day. God bless you wherever you may be in the world. Bye-bye.